Happy New Year, everyone, and a special welcome to all of you who decided to check out my channel because you saw me on the Birdkeeper Toby show. And hey, if you haven't seen that already, go check it out. I did what's basically a Poke Studies video about guns in the Pokemon world that Toby featured on his channel. I'm very happy with it, and it was a huge honor. So for this first video of the year, I wanted to tell you a bit about some of the shiny Pokemon that have a special place in my heart. I'm not a shiny hunter in the sense that I spend a lot of time just trying to collect shiny Pokemon, but I have gone hunting for specific shinies. And I've actually had pretty good luck with just random full odds encounters over the years. And you know how it is, whether it's a shiny that you went looking for or one that you just found randomly, they can really make an impression, and sometimes they become your best friends. So way back in the days of Pokémon Crystal, shiny Pokémon were incredibly rare. There was the red Gyarados at Lake of Rage, but besides that, you were looking at odds of 1 in 8,192, and there were almost no options to improve your odds. And I wanted one. It didn't really matter to me which shiny I found, I just wanted a random shiny. So I made a plan. I decided to go for a shiny Unown at the Ruins of Alph. My thought was that because Unown is the only thing that shows up in the ruins, I would just rack up Unown encounters, and eventually one of them would be shiny. That's not how probability works. Finding the same Pokemon over and over again wouldn't change anything. The important part was getting as many encounters as possible. But I didn't realize that, so I set out to the Ruins of Alph, determined to stay there until an Unown sparkled for me. It didn't take long for me to give up. The problem with my plan is that inside the ruins, the encounter rate is actually pretty low, so you could go walking around for a while without an Unown showing up. It was gonna take forever. So still thinking that I needed a place to find lots of the same Pokemon, I chose a new hunting grounds. One of the patches of grass behind the ruins that you need to go through Union Cave to reach, where you can find a ton of Natu. The encounter rate in grass is much higher, so I was having a much easier time finding Natu. I was ready to face the endless encounters that it would take to get me my shiny Natu. I was there for maybe an hour. Honestly, in my memory, it feels like it could have been much shorter, like 10 or 20 minutes, but I might be exaggerating. Anyway, however long it wasn't long. And I did find a shiny Smeargle. I freaked out. Smeargle was already one of my favorite Pokemon, and they were rare. That was the first Smeargle that I found during that Natu hunting session. Smeargle was 10% encounter rate, so that means that a shiny Smeargle was 1 in almost 82,000. On top of all that, back in the day, regular Smeargle was brown and shiny Smeargle was green, my favorite color. So of course, I immediately took in that Smeargle and raised it and eventually reached level 100. Sometime later, but still in the days of Pokemon Crystal, I learned about the shiny Ditto glitch. Back then, the only way to improve your shiny odds was to breed a shiny Pokemon with a regular one, in which case your odds became a whopping 1 in about 128. It was 1 in 64, but only if the offspring was of the opposite gender to the shiny parent, so it depended. The easiest way to make use of this method was to breed the red Gyarados, but that meant a relatively limited number of Pokemon that you could breed for. So the shiny Ditto glitch was a really exciting discovery. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically you have to send a shiny Pokemon to a Gen 1 game, teach it Mimic, find a wild Ditto, and then through a series of mimics and transforms, basically confuse the game into thinking that the wild Ditto is shiny. And then you catch it, you send it to your Gen 2 game, and voila! A sparkling blue Ditto for all of your shiny breeding needs. And the best part, the red Gyarados can be sent to Gen 1, and it can learn Mimic. So this glitch is really easy. If you're interested, I'll link to a tutorial in the description. Anyway, that was how I got my first shiny Ditto. I got one in Crystal, I went back and got one in Silver. When Crystal came out on the Virtual Console, I got one there too. So in the many versions of this guy that I've had, he's fathered or mothered a whole bunch of shinies. I won't remember all of them, but I know that the list includes a Totodile, a Natu, a Murkrow, 2 Larvitars, and a few Eevees. And yeah, my first shiny Eevee evolved into an Umbreon. But that's not this guy, not yet. He didn't come onto the scene until 2014, and we're still in the days of Pokemon Crystal. And something terrible happened. Without warning, my game died. I lost all of my save data. And with it, one of the biggest collections of shiny Pokemon I've ever gathered in a single game, including Ditto, Smeargle, and Umbreon. I was devastated. Honestly, there are only 2 times in my life that I remember full-on bawling. When I lost my Crystal data, and when my dog died. And I cried more for Crystal. Thinking about it now, Crystal might have been the first time that I truly experienced grief. Of course, I rebuilt. I actually had really good shiny luck in all of my subsequent playthroughs of Crystal. But around this time, the Gen 3 games were coming out, so I started playing Crystal less and less. I went a really long time without having a shiny Ditto or Smeargle or Umbreon around. I made other shiny Poke-friends, and I'll tell you about them sometime. A friend of mine did give me a shiny Umbreon in Diamond, but I didn't really feel attached to it, so I didn't use it much. It didn't help that the Umbreon sprites from Gens 3 to 5 felt kind of dull, like I didn't feel like they did justice to Umbreon. But that changed in Gen 6 when Pokemon became 3D. Now Umbreon was moving like it was supposed to. It looked amazing again. I had to get another shiny Umbreon. So when Oraz brought about the wonderful breeding facilities of the Battle Resort, I set about getting myself a new Eevee. And on Christmas Eve 2014, after just a couple days of on and off egg hatching, he was born. One of my all-time favorite bands is Pink Floyd, and at the time, I was building a team of some of my favorite Pokemon and naming everyone after either a Pink Floyd member or a musician who worked with them a lot. So I named the Umbreon to be Barrett, after Syd Barrett, one of the founding members of Pink Floyd. Syd Barrett only played with the band for about 1.5 albums before his use of LSD and his depression made him too erratic to record and perform, but he remained a presence and an influence for most of the band's career. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which is one of their best songs and you should listen to it if you don't know it, is about Syd Barrett. So it seemed appropriate to tie that, the shine of Syd Barrett, the crazy diamond, to a shiny Umbreon. And I love my Barrett. Since then, any shiny Umbreon that I have, whether it's this guy or the one I have in Pokemon Go, or this one that a friend made for me, actually it's the same friend that made this one, they are all Barrett. I intend to keep Barrett with me indefinitely, as long as they keep making Pokemon Bank compatible with new games. And if they don't, I'll get him back some other way. I never got Smeargle back, though. I still intend to, but that Smeargle, that unexpected windfall of a Smeargle, that one was special in a way that I'll never get back. And nowadays that they've swapped the regular and shiny colors, shiny Smeargle's just not as special anymore. I have more stories about my shiny Pokemon, but I think I'll end this here for today and save those for some other time. Leave a comment below if you'd like to hear them. And tell me, what's your most interesting shiny story? Do you have a shiny that's really special to you? I'd love to hear about it. And please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new here, and share this video with a friend who would enjoy a dose of shiny nostalgia. It all helps me tremendously. I'm Umbreon Libris, wishing a fantastic 2019 for all of us. I'll see you in the next chapter.